Hey, what's up everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to the conversation. So today I got a pretty interesting question that I want to get into with you guys. So I'm just going to get into it. And the question is, was Max Kellerman the only analyst that was right about Kawhi Leonard?
Now, before we get into the content, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the like button. We're trying to get the 500 likes for every single video we upload. So please, guys, don't forget to hit the like button because it's going to help the YouTube algorithm boost these videos and get a lot of people to see them. So really appreciate that. Now back to the content.
Some of you guys who may not be aware who Max Kellerman is, let me just quickly give you a quick brush up on who Max Kellerman actually is. So Max Kellerman is an American sports TV personality, and he's also a boxing commentator. His real bread and butter is really his commentary on football, which he's really good at. Now he's currently 46 years old, and he is the co-host of the ESPN hit channel, ESPN First Take, who he co-hosts the show with Stephen A. Smith, who is the lead on that show, and is probably ESPN's biggest show that they currently have running. And they talk about a bunch of different debate topics that I'm sure all of you guys know. Now, Max Kellerman, has had a history of picking Kawhi Leonard, and it goes back for years. But before I go too far, I want you guys to listen to this audio of Max Kellerman talking about Kawhi Leonard after the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship last season by beating the Golden State Warriors. So check out what he had to say about that.
Of course, Kawhi Leonard is the best player in basketball, and it's about time people recognize it. He was the best. With a healthy KD, clearly Golden State would have won, and people would have mistakenly called KD better than Kawhi. Just like with a healthy KD, clearly they destroyed the Cavs last year, and some people mistakenly called KD better than LeBron. LeBron has the postseason to remind us that he's the best in the game usually, because he plays it safe during the regular season, takes his foot off the gas, doesn't spend himself because he knows the postseason's where it's at. He didn't make the playoffs this year. We won't see him again until the playoffs. So he's almost 36 years old. Who knows? So the title's vacant. That's what I said to start the playoffs. Baton is down. Who wants to pick it up? Kawhi, you remember what he did against Philadelphia? Anyone remember the last shot, let alone the series? Remember what he then did to the Greek freak, who I thought was going to prove himself the best player in the game? A physical mismatch. And then what he just did to the Golden State Warriors. The most points scored in a single postseason ever, MJ 1, LeBron 2, Kawhi 3. Wendy just brought it up. MVPs with finals MVPs, two separate franchises. Kareem, LeBron, now Kawhi. You know who the three greatest players of the modern era are? MJ, Kareem, and LeBron. And Kawhi finds himself on lists with those kind of names. Larry Bird is right there with those kind of names. Everyone always likes to talk about defense. They pay lip service to it. So when I was a kid, they told me Julio Cesar Chavez and Mike Tyson were the best pound for pound in the world. I saw this guy, Pernell Whitaker. I said, well, no one can hit him. Everyone, Felix Trinidad, shame about Floyd Mayweather. No one can hit him. Kawhi plays defense like he's Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather, but now his offense is almost as good as anyone's in the game. Let me tell you something else, finally. If Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers, you heard it here first, the Clippers are winning the NBA title next season.
Oh. Wait. What if AD goes to the Lakers?
If Kawhi goes to the Clippers are your NBA champions.
Stop right there. I have a question.
So if you listen to that, soundbite of Max Kellerman talking about Kawhi Leonard, there are a few things to take away from listening to that. Number one, he seems to understand something about Kawhi, which is Max seems to get it about Kawhi. Now, let me just firstly say, Max Kellerman has given some pretty outlandish takes, especially on basketball, and he's notorious for his whole Tom Brady cliff theory that him and Stephen A. Smith always go back and forth about. And a lot of people come on ESPN, come on First Take, and they really get at Max Kellerman for some of his hot takes regarding Tom Brady. But for the one thing though, he has been one of the only few people that I've heard speak about Kawhi Leonard for probably the past 3 years that has been saying that Kawhi Leonard is the best basketball player in the world. He's the only one that I heard sounding that trumpet by saying that Kawhi Leonard is the best player, or certainly the number 2 player behind LeBron James. And he did not have KD ahead of Kawhi Leonard. Now, because of his stances on Kawhi, he's gotten a lot of pushback by primarily Stephen A. Smith of First Take, who is the main personality of that show, and he's basically the face of ESPN overall. And him and Stephen A. Smith have gone back and forth about it. But I think Max Kellerman has turned out to be right. And if you listen to him at the final portion of that soundbite, he said no matter wherever Kawhi Leonard goes, if he decides to go play with the Los Angeles Clippers, that team will win the NBA championship. And it was a bold proclamation to make. But before I go too further into that, let's just see actually why he decides to keep picking Kawhi. Now, Kawhi for this season is averaging a lot of career highs. He's averaging 27 points a game, getting you 7.3 rebounds and 5 assists per game. Now, if we go deeper into the numbers, he's actually playing 32 minutes a game, although it's fair to say that he's only played 51 games this season for this injury that he seems to have, or this chronic issue that he seems to have with his knee that I don't know too well about, but that seems to be the case with him. Nevertheless, he's shooting 47% from the field, and the most impressive part about his field goal shooting percentage is that actually the majority of his shots are coming from the perimeter. Now he's making 36.6% of his three-pointers, but he's attempting 5.7 and making 2.1 a game. He's shooting 89% from the free throw line, which is really, really good. And that's Kevin Durant, Steve Nash, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson territory. So he's really good at the free throw line, and he's getting you 1.8 steals a game, which is damn near 2 steals a game. And he's also led the league in steals, believe it or not, once before in his career. So that's currently what Kawhi Leonard is doing this current season. But let's go deeper into the whole reason as to why Max Kellerman is picking Kawhi, why he likes to bet so much on Kawhi, which has to bring us back to last season's playoffs, okay? Kawhi Leonard was the only player in the playoffs last season to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, and steals. He led the entire playoffs, and last season he was playing 39 minutes a game. So Kawhi Leonard is one of those players that actually does have a legitimate playoff mode that he can go into, where he just starts putting up video game numbers and putting up, increasing his productivity in a really, really clear way. Now, last season in the playoffs, Kawhi Leonard averaged 30 points a game. His field goal percentage was 49% from the field. So he basically shot 50% from the field in the playoffs. He attempted 6 3-pointers a game, making 2.3. So he shot 38% from the 3-point line. He shot 88% from the free throw line. He got you 9.1 boards, 3.9 assists, and 1.7 steals to go along with 0.7 blocks. But the numbers by themselves don't tell the full story. If you followed the playoffs last season, he had a lot of improbable victories, especially against the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think Max Kellerman was the only one at that time to really hold out and say, hey, listen, I think the Toronto Raptors have a shot at beating the Bucks. Although the majority of the media, including Stephen A. Smith, picked the Bucks to win that game, especially win that series, especially after they went down 0-1. A lot of people, after the Raptors went down 0-1 in that series, picked the Bucks to I think even some people picked the Bucks to sweep the Toronto Raptors, and Stephen A. Smith said they have no chance, and I feel sorry because it's over for these dudes. This is the reason why I don't take Stephen A. Smith too seriously most of the time, because he gives a lot of bold predictions and he's usually flagrantly wrong with his predictions that he makes. So Max Kellerman was one of the people that said, hey, listen, these playoffs are going to prove who the best player in the world is, because he's always held out that LeBron always reminds people of his greatness in the playoffs, and he really manages his body throughout the season. And in the playoffs, he's there to remind the world, listen, I'm the best player in the world. But last season, he wasn't in the playoffs. And to Max Kellerman's overall point, he's like, listen, the crown is bare and it's on the ground. Who wants to pick it up? And in that series between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors, he said that series was to determine who the best player in the world right now is. And Kawhi snatched that crown from Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was the regular season MVP, if we go back and think about that. So after that series, Max Kellerman, after the Toronto Raptors, ended up beating the Milwaukee Bucks. That further solidified Max Kellerman's original notion that Kawhi Leonard truly is the best player. Now, he's had a lot of pushback from a plethora of people. And one of, and the common thought is, well, Kawhi Leonard only won that NBA championship because Kevin Durant didn't play. And Max Kellerman has always said, it doesn't matter who was playing against the Golden State Warriors. If Kevin Durant was playing, the Warriors would have beat anybody because they were just too talented. So he doesn't hold that against Kawhi. And he said that's why a lot of people think that because the Warriors kept on beating LeBron and KD was there, a lot of people mistakenly thought that KD was better than LeBron. So Max Kellerman has been consistent in his point of view regarding this Kawhi issue, and he seems to be the only one that gets it right. And the question is, why is he the only one that's always getting it right? And I think the answer is quite simple. The answer is Max Kellerman truly believes in the things that he's saying, but he just doesn't say things based off of nothing. I think he's someone that's very analytical. He looks at the numbers, he uses the eye test, and then he makes his predictions. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. But with the Kawhi thing, he seems to be the only one that's right, because if we think of Skip Bayless, last season, especially in the playoffs, he was tearing apart Kawhi Leonard to shreds, and Shannon Sharpe and Chris Broussard were the ones that were always defending Kawhi. But now this season, Skip Bayless has done a flip-flop and Shannon Sharpe has done a flip-flop. But Max has been the only person that has remained consistent about the Kawhi Leonard situation. So that's my reason for thinking that Max Kellerman is always right about Kawhi. But my question is, what do you guys think? Why do you think that Max Kellerman seems to get it right about Kawhi all the time? So let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I really want to know what you guys think about this. Again, if you haven't followed us on the Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you guys go check out the Dreamerspro Podcast. We're going to have the link in the description below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay safe. And I'll definitely catch you guys on the next episode. This is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Peace.